Should you watch In Time? This 2011 film starring Justin Timberlake is set in a future where, once you reach age 25, you stop aging and time is a commodity traded like money. Big shout out to Michelangelo for suggesting this one. If anyone has any recommendations, please let us know in the comments. We literally just finished watching this, and now we're going to shotgun rate it out of 10 in 9 different categories, starting with the all-important enjoyment rating, out of 10 to 1 decimal place. 3, 2, 1, go.
5.7.
8.7. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
That's so high.
I really enjoyed it. I think, first of all, Michelangelo, man, what a suggestion.
What a guy.
Suggestion.
What a top geezer.
I don't know if it was like necessarily that good, but I just really enjoyed it.
Hey, that's what the whole system's there for. Is like if you've got the option to have films that maybe other people wouldn't like as much.
Bit
that
corny.
You really do.
There's a guy with a Trevi hat for some reason that's watched way too much Neo.
Yeah,
like, but it's enjoyable. It's so much fun. Like the whole concept, and you know what, this came as a consequence of the Mad Max, the Furiosa video.
Yeah, right.
Where one of the things that I could not stop saying was like, none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. They've come up with this idea. They've tried to explore it, and just none of it's been thought through. This really felt thought through to me. Like, this felt like they came up with this interesting idea, swap time and money effectively. Like, everyone has an infinite amount. There's time as a commodity, right? Then, like, how does it treat it with a sort of capitalist idea? How would it play out? And, you know, I thought that it was reasonably well put together. I didn't think it was... I feel like they could have had a ton of pitfalls and they didn't. And then the plot, you know, it was just very, very exciting. So, yeah, what was it again? 5.7. So that's not good. Give us an idea.
Not great, no. Okay, so on my rankings then now, 6.5 for me is kind of average, all right, better than average, kind of like, yeah, it's all right. Okay. And so 5.7 is not bad.
Sounds bad.
It sounds bad, but I'm trying to be a bit more, I'm trying to give a bit more leeways for things that get really bad.
So hang on, can we trust any of the previous ratings now you've just shifted your whole dynamic?
No, you can, because
I've decided now that 7 means something entirely different.
No, it doesn't. It still reflects the previous scores. But
okay.
I did enjoy all of the films we watched to at least a certain extent. And my comparisons were kind of classics, comparing classics.
But what was it that inhibited the enjoyment of the film for you?
Okay, so I like the concept.
And
I like
cool
the
concept.
Yeah, I thought it was very inventive.
Everyone smoking hot.
Everyone was unbelievable.
25 across the board.
Yeah.
Great way to have a gorgeous cast.
So
Cillian Murphy didn't look 25 in it, mind.
No, but he was the best performance, I'd say.
I mean, come on.
He was a bit of a step ahead of everyone else in terms of...
I think that's not fair.
I think that's it for me.
JT's beautiful, man. What are you talking about?
Films that feel like parodies, where every line is like, you imagine in a writer's room. Presumably this was written by 1 or 2 people, I haven't checked, but let's say, for me, it felt a bit like people were trying to come up with an idea for a sketch, and then they're like, and then he could say this, and then he could do this. And I think... So conceptually, quite cool, interesting, different,
very interesting,
unique,
original,
but the kind of fuck. I don't want to swear too much. I'm gonna fuck the man, fuck the system.
Yeah,
Bonnie and Clyde, where we're stealing time.
Yeah,
and then every moment is like.
But quippy was the word you came out with once.
It's not even so much the quippiness was one element of the sort of stuff I don't like in films that much.
I loved it. I mean, no, it was very, very corny at times. Some went okay, some of the quips not so okay.
I think for me, whenever anyone comes out with a really niche idea for a film, like I remember the trailer coming out for this and thinking this is going to be the best film that's ever come out.
Okay,
2011.
Yeah, I
would have been 13 or something like that. And I saw the trailer for this in the cinema and was blown away by the idea.
Damn right,
I never ended up watching it. And rewatching films like that, I used to always think, why did that not? I remember that film. Why did that not become a massive success? And I think it's because you can't just have an original idea. You obviously need to have all of the elements conducive to a good film, like your plots, your characters, your...
But that's good. You gave an enjoyment rating in the 5s. That's like one of the lowest you've ever given. That's only been topped by like the Mad Max films, which for all intents and purposes are an atrocious set of films.
I gave it higher than Mad Max because I didn't find it as boring as the Mad Max films.
Was it a little bit boring, this one?
I think all of the... okay. Here's how I describe it. The stuff that was supposed to be taken seriously, I found kind of comical.
Like
the death of his mother.
Yeah.
Oh, man, are we supposed to not be spoiling things?
Spoilers coming about... If only we could go back in time, Fred.
All of the time-related puns. Another big one.
I couldn't wait for this episode to just every couple minutes, just any like time, just oh man.
All right, you know what? Let's just say this is a spoiler review.
This is we'll put spoiler. Maybe we'll chime something in for the start.
At the start, because
near the start. I don't know if you've come out. Okay, yeah. So like it was a little cheap and tacky, but did you not enjoy the chase and the world building? You know, like that was one of the things I thought maybe you would appreciate, was such an interest. Like it's kind of so a very interesting universe that they've created. Yeah,
but every time something happened that would be forgivable, like him getting arrested in the mansion, and then
running,
you know
away.
What, we're going to take away your time, and then him, actually, I'm going to just whack all these guys over the head and escape, and I'm going to
what's your problem, Fred?
I'm going to kidnap this woman who conveniently just walked away from her guards last minute, saying, we don't need to worry about this guy.
She was in love with him.
Not at that point.
She was. She was. She was in love with him the second she laid eyes on that gorgeous specimen.
Very handsome man. Very
so gorgeous.
He got an extra point for the handsomeness of the cast. It was in that era, I think, before they tried to make things realistic, like that late 90s to mid 2000s. I mean, this 2010.
It's 2011. It's a bit behind, isn't it? Really.
But we've got everyone has to be 25, and they're all going to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I just thought at one point, okay, the concept is cool, but I guess what they've really done is they've completely cured any aging process, right?
Yes. Genetics, but it's when they were born. There's a coding thing before they're born.
So then they've commodified time.
Yeah.
But what I didn't quite understand is if what they've done is they've completely cured aging, why do they then actually work it so that not only are we curing ages, but we're actually going to kill you if you run out of time? Like,
so that not everyone can live forever. So you cure aging. How do you handle that? That like the natural thing from there is, well, hang on a minute, then does everybody just live forever? Well, then nobody could have kids, or so what do we do about that? Well, let's say then that time is a finite but managed resource, and then the people who are worthy get to keep it, which seems like a conceivable way that might unfold.
I kind of I did see that. I think my issue is then, okay, so we've basically, by healing the aging process, we now need to solve this issue, and let's do it in a way where this. I think taking a big back step in the science of they
didn't try and address any science. They didn't go anywhere near that. That's not a critique.
Maybe not. I think for me, like, I really like that concept, and then halfway through, I was like, wait a minute, they've just solved aging. Why is it? I know they said it's because of overpopulation.
I'm not having this. That's not for you've not justified that one bit.
Maybe not.
That is like the thing that I liked about it was like that is a conceivable route that the world would go down if you solve the aging process. Something that people are actually trying to do, right? You want, like, everyone wants to solve the aging thing. So what would happen is like, well, you know, maybe that isn't it, but conceivably that actually could be one of the ways that they handle it, a managed resource, and then they have to kind of allocate it out in some way, and it just ends up naturally falling into yet another capitalist system.
Maybe, but I think for me, if we're at a point where we've not only managed to completely halt aging, but got to the point where we can actually stop people's aging at 25 and have the control to actually put essentially a bio clock on them, which we can completely we can control transactionally. If you've got to that point, wouldn't you be at the point where you can kind of just colonize Mars?
How is that a solution?
Because why does the solution have to be we've solved the aging process? Now we need to.
It's an overpopulation thing, right?
Yeah.
So you colonize Mars, and then what happens then?
But you've got places to go. Why aren't they expanding? It feels like they're...
Okay, fine. Maybe they can't, but even if they did, eventually you would still run out and you would have the same problem again. You would still have to solve the same issue.
But that blocker, I feel, came really early, right? Wouldn't they have tried galactic colonization first?
I feel like saying that this film gets a 5 because they didn't address galactic colonization is a little harsh, Fred. I mean, like, let's say for argument's sake that in this... They didn't even say how long it was, which was really interesting from when this film started, from when they kind of figured out this stuff. But let's say that they didn't have to explain this galactic thing because it clearly isn't a thing in this universe. Maybe they can't. Maybe they just for some reason they can't. Or maybe they have and Mars is full. Maybe. And they still have to solve the exact same problem.
I guess for me, if you've got the capability to do all the things they could do, it felt like, would there be... Yes, overpopulation's an issue, but would that mean that we have to make sure we kill people at a certain point?
There's a limit to the amount of time that you can't have everybody immortal, right? That was kind of the point in the movie was.
Yeah. That
for one person to be immortal, a lot of people have to die. That was kind of the point.
Was quite cool,
and also quite clear, Fred. That was like the point in the movie. I'm a little disappointed that went over your head, man.
No, I get that.
Maybe why didn't I just go to Mars, the idiots?
I think things that I struggle with is when you have a really interesting concept, but then a tiny bit of digging, and I'm like,
No, see, I completely disagree, and that's why I like this movie. It's an interesting concept, and they thought about it quite carefully.
They clearly had thought about some solution, and the solution for me was like, maybe not enough.
Colonizing Mars wouldn't be another solution.
No, I'm saying if you're at a point where you are this far forward in terms of scientific capability, that not only have you halted aging, but we can actually specifically make sure you stop at 25, and up to the age of 25, you get a year in the bank, and then we have a bio clock on you, in which case, when you run out of time...
A managed commodity.
Basically, the fact that they had that much control over that process, and yet still needed that process for
people would have to die, right?
The suspension of disbelief. Potentially people would have to die.
So how would you solve that?
I don't know. I don't think I quite enjoyed the way that they solved it.
All right, well, fair enough.
Well,
I think you're wrong.
I gave an example, actually. I think you're fine. They would have gone to fucking Mars, and everyone would have had whatever they wanted.
Say that this film gets a 5 on enjoyment because they didn't go to Mars is a ridiculous take, Fred.
There's enough resources.
And you're damaging the reputation of our page.
And anyone who doesn't believe me is a fucking idiot, all right? No, fair enough. Well, if you had any ideas as to how they could have solved it that were better than mine, which I didn't put any thought into apart from just now, please let us know. But that wasn't the only thing.
Okay.
Right? The dialogue.
Yeah.
I did struggle with... you know how you said for Superbad?
Yeah.
It fell into a category of films that you really struggle with. And I think the kind of... I don't know how you describe what sort of category of film would you... It's not just science fiction.
It is sci-fi.
It's sci-fi, yeah. But I mean, like...
It's a bit different.
Kind of popcorn bait, get to the cinema. Don't think too much into it. Here for a bit of a romp.
Yeah, it's a rompy sci-fi.
Yeah, okay. So...
Mate night take.
Rompy sci-fi as a genre...
Scores high.
Maybe. There were just some things. So, yeah, the dialogue I found a bit... I found it very funny. I'm not sure how funny it was supposed to be.
We're running out of time, by the way.
We
got a clock. For anyone interested, there's a digital clock next to us counting down to 0. So make it quick.
Okay, I'll read some of my favourite lines then. So first off, straight at the bat, I think that one of the first things that happened is there's a voiceover at the start.
Yeah.
Very much a product of that time.
Yeah.
Don't see many of those these days. And so immediately I'm like, okay, takes me back to my childhood, to films which I'm not sure I enjoyed that much. Who his mum asked him about having a girlfriend. His mum's very young and beautiful, of course.
It's strange that, wasn't it? I got used to it pretty quickly, though.
He literally goes,
I was okay with that after a couple minutes.
All of these people were like in crippling poverty are incredibly beautiful.
Absolutely stunning. They all spend their money on Dyson Airwraps.
And he goes, who has time for a girlfriend? And I literally almost looked at you. We watched this film. Oh, can you just check I didn't bump them? I bumped the mic.
Yeah. Continue. Sure. I got it.
We watched this film in complete silence.
We were next to each other, which is rarely the case.
And we've just recorded it straight after. But there were so many times in this film where I almost burst out laughing.
Yeah, we had to control. Yeah, there were a few pretty funny moments. I'll tell you one quite funny moment was the arm wrestle for the time.
Yeah.
That was, I gotta say,
what scene that was?
If there were any moments where I was like, yeah, that's a little questionable. It was the performance in that was just horrific to watch. Like,
I think,
but the ending of it was really fun, right? Because he all along he had a gun in his sock with 3 bullets in the chamber.
That's one of those moments.
And then he's like, bang, 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 job done.
Killed them all.
Also, how is it that them looking at the time on your arm somehow means that you win the fight? That is ridiculous.
That was one of those things that I
What
felt...
are you thinking, Michelangelo? This is a rubbish film.
That was one of those moments which may be similar for me to the concept of the time being money, and that's the only possible solution for overpopulation. The other thing that one of the other things that I remember thinking, they've kind of just not really explained that, but I know it's going to come back, is the whole arm wrestle fighting.
So there's a way of solving conflict in the universe where everyone's got the time on their arm. And basically, you lock your arms to change time. But in these conflicts, they will lock the arms in a sort of an arm wrestling fight. And it seems like a sort of battle of concentration almost. But
supposedly it's strength-based?
It's kind of a strength concentration thing. And I think maybe your arm needs to be on top.
Yeah,
it wasn't very clear. But
top.
what was clear was Justin Timberlake was very good at it. because he went down to 5 seconds or something, and then they looked away, and that meant he could then win the arm wrestle.
That was his move. Did you notice that? He did that a lot in the film.
Where
he just went down to like 5 seconds and then everyone got a bit freaked out.
I thought that was fun.
And he won the gambling.
It wasn't good, Fred. It was fun. I'm having fun.
Well, for me, I think, you know the concept of Chekhov's gun?
No, I do not.
So I believe initially written by Anton Chekhov, who's a playwright. It's a storytelling technique where if you clearly signpost something, or if there's some... The example he gave is if you're in an environment or you're on stage and there's a gun that's pointed out as part of the scene. Someone goes, look at that gun over there. That gun has to be brought back. It's necessary to the plot later. You can't just throw out red herrings,
That's
or
so
not even throw out red herrings, but you can't... Nothing that you point to... Everything has to have relevance.
Okay.
So the story that you make has to have relevance. So sometimes it's really subtle, and sometimes people do it in a very obvious way. Yeah. And I mean, they had this talk about the arm wrestling thing, and
you knew it was coming at some point.
He basically explained for expositional purposes to Amanda Seyfried's character how this arm wrestling works, and he said how the technique his dad used, which was to let the other guy completely take all of your time.
Win.
And then don't worry, because they'll start looking at your arm at the last minute when you're about to be drained. And then you just flip their hand over.
More strength than them now.
Also, when you flip their hand over, there's no way they can possibly turn it back.
Turn it back.
And also, the time goes a lot quicker back into your way.
When the writers needed to be the case, at least.
and you've got an angle gun.
Okay, look, Fred, like I said, not exactly the most watertight, but it was definitely fun. Can I say another fun bit?
Go on, you say some fun bits.
Amanda is what? Can you pronounce her surname for me?
I think it's
Seyfried. I can't remember the character's name, unfortunately. But when she shot Cillian Murphy, I was so hyped. I was like, that was like in the Kingdom of the Apes when she just choked that guy to death. right?
Yeah, okay.
And I was just like, what?
Spoilers for Kingdom of...
By the way, just in case you're listening, we might spoil some other stuff. Okay, so let's pretend I didn't say that, but it was another one of those moments where I was like, oh, how are they going to do this? And then she just shot him, and I was like, oh, that's quite a fun way of getting out of this. I really like that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, okay. I mean...
So the concept was watertight. The arm wrestle was fun-ish. Neil Caffrey was in it.
There was a moment, there were so many moments where I just burst out laughing. So he's from a ghetto, and in the ghetto they live day to day. They're running out of time. The cost of living, which is actually the cost of time, is increasing day by day. And all of the people in this situation don't really know how they're being duped by the system. And then he runs into an affluent gentleman who's getting hammered at a local dive, and that guy has a sentry on his wrist.
A huge amount of money in the ghetto.
It's inconceivable for them. Yeah. And so this guy naturally causes trouble because people are going to steal this time from him. Very easy to steal time from people, by the way. Yeah, you just grab them by the wrist and then you've stolen all their time.
There goes 100 years. Rips.
For people who regularly have hours on there. Not a great system. Anyway, so he causes some trouble, some Minutemen, they were called, basically local thugs and gangsters, come over to nick this time, and that's when Justin Timberlake's character saves him. And so what he decides to do is, whilst they're hiding out and laying low, he gives him this sentry, and that kind of kicks off the police.
For saving him.
The police in this world are basically called timekeepers, so they
wear leather.
They wear leather.
As all apocalyptic
Mad Max.
As any police officer should.
Yep. So they are on a hunt to find Justin Timberlake's character. There's a moment where they're like, well, we'll never find him, he's gone. And then they just check the security camera footage. And when they do, they see the guy who has died, who they're trying to locate. They're trying to...
The rich guy whose time...
Yeah, and they're following the time. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he jumps off a building when his time expires, and Justin Timberlake has just realised he's given him all this time, runs over just too late, misses it, and then he looks at a security camera that
4K
spots this.
CCTV.
Yep. And then he just kind of literally turns and like runs a couple of steps out of shot. And then one of the guys goes, he's fast.
This guy's a runner.
They keep talking about how fast he is. At no point does he show any relative speed to anyone else.
No one's seen that. That's just a lie. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and things like...
The police Mustangs were cool, yes or no?
Police Mustangs were quite cool.
The electric police Mustangs, to go with the leather, it was very cool.
But just things like, okay, at one point they jump off that, like, not very dangerous. They jump off, like, the first floor of a building onto a car, and then they go, they won't dare jump after us. Because
Killian does it. It's like, let's go!
Killian does, okay, which is fair enough. I think it was just the way it was done was they jumped out of a building onto this car. Justin Timberlake's like, don't worry, they won't follow us, because no one wants to risk any injury or...
Yeah, no one wants to take risks.
No one wants to die in a way other than their time running out, because that's the biggest risk if you have time. So he jumps off and they start running off. And you're like, okay, fair enough. That's all right. And then they just turn around and go, look, I told you no one would jump off.
Yeah, okay. Well, they wanted to check if people were chasing them, Fred.
Yeah, okay.
God, you're so unforgiving of this franchise.
No.
Not franchise, just single film. Somehow, inconceivably, not getting a sequel.
Which other bits did I not like? Some of the lines were pretty great.
Did you remember the CGI in the car crash?
CGI car crash was...
That was... I saw you right down when that happened. I was like, I think that's coming up later.
CGI car crash was dreadful.
I might animate something better this evening on bloody...
Yeah, that really was...
Cut, so, yeah, that
really was... his mum, when she was... His mum's death...
She was gorgeous as well.
Hilarious. She, like... Firstly, did she pay back time she owed to the bank, or was she depositing time?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, they lend time in this universe for interest.
They lend time, so I think she paid back her 2 days or whatever she had.
Whatever it was.
And she was left with an hour and a half, and the bus costs an hour to get to where she needs to be. But this time it costs 2 hours because there's interest.
Apologies.
Wait a minute. I know you love this film, mate, but... Give me a minute.
8.7.
So, wait a minute, we're going to have a chat about that in a minute. 'Cause that's ridiculous.
I loved it. It was so fun, man.
Anyway, so the bus driver says, sorry, we can't do anything to this gorgeous woman who probably would do anything for this time, whatever. So
everyone's gorgeous, though.
Everyone is.
It's fine.
Fair enough. Everyone's stunning.
Apart from the bus driver.
So she decides to run as he asked her to.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour walk. She's got an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, they're insanely fit in this. Like, I mean, like athletic. Like, the amount of running in heels.
Particularly because she ran in heels. Did you notice?
I know, it's a lot of running in heels.
The whole way
I was very impressed. Yeah. But, I mean, you know, if you're not going to age and you've got 50 years, maybe she trains track throughout the week, you know? Like, when she's outside of her work to make some money, she then uses that money to... You don't know, Fred, right?
Potentially.
So I feel like you're being incredibly unfair.
Well, I thought if you were running for your life, you'd probably make it...
You'd take your heels off, I think.
You'd take your heels off.
They were nice heels.
And if it was a 2-hour walk, I could probably run it in an hour, don't you reckon?
I don't know what's a 2-hour walking distance in kilometers.
I reckon you run twice as fast as you walk.
No, I reckon a 2-hour walk. How far would you cover?
A mile takes like half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour to walk, whereas it takes like between 6 and 10
4K?
minutes, depending
4K?
on how quick you run.
5K in 2 hours? That sounds about right. You could do 5K in 30 minutes.
Yeah, so
a 2-hour walk.
She had an hour and a half.
So she
ran out of time.
Well,
and he ran
it
to her.
Was still fun.
He ran to her as well.
Did you know?
By the way, he ran to her. How quick do you reckon the bus got there? Because he realised when the bus wasn't there that she wasn't there. So he ran half the way. Yeah. So she must have ran, 3/4 of that distance. So.
Yeah. Well, you know
in
what?
an hour and a half.
So moving on.
But then her death was hilarious. Like,
it was pretty ridiculous how often he ended up being there in the final seconds of people's lives. Like, it just wouldn't happen like that. But I mean,
it's lucky he was so fast.
It was just the right speed. He wasn't fast enough, obviously,
at the end,
for dramatic effect.
He worked out that the policeman was also from his neck of the woods because he was also fast. He literally went, the line was something like, I've written it down. You can run, so can you. Did you used to live here?
It was great.
Some other belters.
It was brilliant, Fred.
You saved my life. When? Now.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Now, I'd say your money is your life, but your money is your life.
I don't even remember that.
No, it's your money or your life. I butchered the...
Okay, yeah.
But also, what did you think of them? Okay, let me see. Is there one more thing I wanted to say?
We are running out of time. We are 10 minutes over.
I know, but there was lots with the movie.
We're going to have to just be mega quick on Crystal.
Okay. One thing I did find a bit of a weird one was when she said, I know how we could get back at them. I think, no, it wasn't the million years bit, but it was... Oh, okay. I can help you get all the time you want. So she's come on side. He initially kidnapped her, and she's like, actually, I like the way this guy lives, and my dad doesn't really care about me.
I'm bored.
Let's go. So she goes to him after really being invested in his plan. I can help you get all the time you want. And then the next shot is us looking at the time bank, which her dad owns. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking, how is she going to work out a way to manipulate the situation with her connections in order to get this time? And what they do is the next thing you see is a truck driving into the building and then just walking in, stealing all this time and giving it to them. And you think, has no one else tried that ever?
She's good at bank robbing, man. She knows the blueprints of the bank, so she knows where
you can
to
drive
the truck straight. Did you know it's the vault to the million years at the climax of the movie? The pin code was like a 6-digit pin of someone's birthday.
Of Charles Darwin's birthday. Which she knew.
It's so good. It's such a good film. I wonder if maybe 8.7 was a bit generous.
8.7.
It was in the 8s.
So I'm pretty sure
and then I only had a few seconds to think of it whilst I was reading the script.
I think you gave Godfather an 8.7 or something.
Yeah, but I'm trying to really differentiate between how enjoyable a movie is and how good a movie is. And a lot of the things that we've pulled it apart for is where it's going to fall down in the critical score in just a moment. But actually, I just really enjoyed the journey that it took me on. Like, I actually really felt like it put me in a universe that I actually thought was quite well thought through. And then it created this very entertaining journey where it just carried me through. He's kind of on the run. Everything looks really quite cool. I thought, it's kind of aged, but in quite a cool way.
Okay.
And yeah, I just thought it was a really enjoyable journey. But I would totally agree it wasn't very good. It was just
that's fair enough. And for me, then part of the reason why my enjoyment was less. I can forgive things for being unrealistic. We're not going to the cinema to watch, a day in the life of
a
something.
documentary.
But when things come in with a really out there concept that's asking you to suspend a lot of disbelief, for me personally, I need the explanations around why they do certain things to be really well thought out.
Okay.
And if they're not, then I personally...
You weren't this critical of Kingdom of the Apes the other day.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I didn't think any of that through.
The world, some bits of it made sense.
Can I make a hypothesis here? I think that for you, from our previous discussions, if the dialogue is corny, it can destroy a movie for you.
Yeah,
I really can, because the dialogue in Kingdom of the Apes, although it wasn't exactly great, it didn't destroy it.
Really
but I don't think that the world building was any more watertight or interesting, or it was just, it didn't have these really, every line felt like it could have just been put in a trailer. Like, some trailers better than others, but they were always very corny kind of quotes.
Yeah.
And I know that you hate that thing so much that maybe you're kind of then misdirecting that a little bit. And that's why you give a bad enjoyment score. You didn't enjoy it. And then it kind of makes you pick up other things.
Potentially, yeah.
Because I got to say, I do think that, we've just watched Furiosa and we watched Kingdom of the Apes, right? The content's just come out for anyone who's interested. And they both have world building in. And I would say, I would stand by the fact that this world building was actually more well thought out than Kingdom of the Apes and than Furiosa. It actually made sense.
Yeah, potentially. So what I have found about my own enjoyment of things is when there is an established world already and then it is built upon with new interesting things, I enjoy that quite a lot. Whereas with this, with something where the concept's so far out there, like In Time, they're basically creating a world from scratch.
Yeah.
And so if they try and heavy-hand it with loads of stuff, it doesn't appeal to me as much. Whereas something like John Wick, that was essentially like a gangster movie with a sole hitman running around causing a ruckus. And then there was the illusion, not the illusion, I mean, it alluded to this greater underworld with the I can't remember the name of the hotel, but the one where you go and you use these gold drachmas to pay with through currency. And you could see the seeds of this underworld that were more interesting, but they didn't spend too much time on that specifically. The concept was there, but the story, this man going after the people who'd killed his dog, was the great driving force.
It was the focus.
And then with this, it seemed to all be around the time element and adding new elements to it, like the timekeepers and the zones.
So it tried to do too much world building in too small of a time, in addition to action and in addition to a whole bunch of other stuff that they were trying to do.
And other things other things that do grand world building within one film, like the Hunger Games. Yeah. They are relying on rich source material, firstly. So I don't think In Time was a book. Maybe I'm wrong. We're out of time.
Long overdue.
Ironically.
We're 35 minutes into what should have been 15.
But those things do also give precedent for follow-up as well. So they kind of set this, a lot of it is setting groundwork still, and they build upon that. But maybe I'm a bit unfair.
You had to assume a bit about the universe because it was just too much for it. But I thought there could have been some real blunders that I think actually often there are blunders in these things that they didn't fall into. And for me, that just counts for so much. Do you know what I mean?
Well, 5.7. I thought it was...
Yeah, I think I was definitely too generous. But it's easily in the 8s for me in terms of enjoyment. I'll watch it again. Like, that was so much fun.
Really? Fair enough.
Yeah, it was just so enjoyable. And I tell you what as well, I hate romance in movies. Like, I really hate romance. It's just I just can't stand it. It's always so poorly written. But I actually didn't mind this one because it wasn't laid on too thick too early, right? And it wasn't too important. Like, it was just kind of like they teamed up because they teamed up, and then it just kind of happened to fall in love. Like, throughout, it took its time to do it, and it kind of didn't feel like too crowbarred in for me. So let's wrap things up. I think given the amount of time that we've taken, we should probably try and be as fast as we possibly can with the critical score section. So we've ranked it in 2 different areas, right? Enjoyment for Fred, enjoyment for me. Now we're going to rate it out of 10 in 9 more categories: plot, character, dialogue, performance, visual, sound, and genre realization. What we're going to do, we're going to rate out of 10 in every area. Then we're going to take the average and determine should you watch it, yes or no.
Sure.
So first off, plot. Plot is the sequence of the events in the narrative. Do they make sense? What is the driving force that goes forwards? Is it an original idea? Mm-hmm. What did we think of the plot? We're going to go with 1 minute.
1 minute.
3, 2, 1, go.
Well, it's original.
So the question is, how good is it? It is original in the time sense, but not so original. You mentioned something right at the start where I was like, oh yeah, it's quite similar to some other things, and I'm trying to remember what it was. At the start of this episode, you made a couple comments where I was like, oh yeah, it's not that original after all.
Can't remember.
Oh, it was the whole like slobs and snobs sort of like let's flatten everything out
take down
and like
the system.
take down the system.
But the way they did it was quite cool.
But it was original enough.
Yeah, I think you got to give it marks for the whole time element.
The driving forward, I didn't feel like he had that much of a plan, really. Like, it kind of just happened a little bit. Although
and they gave a lot of leeway for things just happening behind the scenes, like getting the truck, him getting in and managing to get behind the guy at the end.
No, they bribed their way into that.
I know they bribed their way in. I know they did, but also like...
Shut up, Fred.
I feel like they just threw that line in to explain quite a hard thing to do. You just said
they didn't explain it, and they explained it, so shut up.
All right. What number do you want to go for?
I don't think it's... I think it's a 7. I think it could have done better. I think it needed more time. You know, I think it should have been... I didn't even mean that.
No, that's why I laughed, because it needed more time.
The world building should have been spread out over 3 films, and it would have been so much better. But because they tried to squeeze it in such a short period, I think it's limited it to a 7. But it was very watertight and very interesting.
Can we... I don't know about watertight. Can we see what...
It was definitely watertight. No, we can't. We have to just rate it because we're out of time.
Okay, 6.
Fucking hell. Right, okay. Right, character. Next, we have character. By the way, I don't have the scripts I sent you. I'm just reading an old one, so apologies for this. Character is a collection of beings within the narrative. We have 1 minute to agree on a rating out of 10. Go. Okay, let's list the main characters for me.
Justin Timberlake's
Justin
character.
Timberlake.
Amanda Seyfried's character.
Cillian Murphy's character. Neil Caffrey. We don't know what any of them were called.
I literally got the cast. I got the character list up earlier.
Okay, so on the page, what do we think of those guys? What do we think of those characters? Not the performances, not the dialogue, the character, the decisions they make, Fred.
Yeah, the bad guy was bad. The
timekeeper.
The timekeeper was nuanced enough.
He was very interesting.
I mean, I don't know, but
what happened to his dad? I feel like that was just kind of left a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe it is a 6 on plot.
I think... All right. You know what? One of the best performances was from the Minuteman.
It's not
he was pretty good.
performance.
I know, but that character was good.
Character!
Just someone I remembered. So we got the Minuteman, English guy, Cillian Murphy, the big bad guy, Amanda Seyfried's character, Justin Timberlake.
Character-wise, it was okay. I think the performance and dialogue was the problem.
7.
7's fine.
Down the middle. Yeah. Or 6.
My very high rating at the start might have been accounting for the god awful ratings it's about to get.
We've definitely bumped it up based on that rating, because I would be going lower for both plot and
Right.
and character.
Yeah.
Maybe not
I
character.
think that your criticisms of the plot were a little unfair in terms of the watertightness of it.
Maybe.
We'll listen back over and listen to your criticism, shall we?
Maybe.
I'll tell you what, we'll see what the comments think.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be people who
sure
love
I'm
the film
sure they'll
in
really
time.
appreciate
They'll be like, "Who's this
your
guy?"
ridiculous criticisms,
Yeah.
Fred.
Oh yeah, no. I'll do better
Next, we
than
have
that.
performance. We have a minute to agree on a rating out of 10. Go.
All right, good performances. Cillian Murphy was good. He did
always.
very well with hard dialogue to make good, as was, in my opinion, the guy who played the Minuteman, the English guy.
Who's the Minuteman?
You know, basically the thug, the gangster who played the arm wrestler.
Yeah.
Like he had in that scene, he
His
had
arm
some,
wrestle was a bit cringe, but yeah.
but it was a tough scene to act.
It was a tough scene to
Like he had a
act.
bit in there where he said something about "I'm going to take you," and then after that, "I'm going to take your missus."
your time.
Oh, and her time. And I was like, he did a good job with that because that line is horrible to say. So look, those two good. Justin Timberlake was very,
Great.
very kind of like posy and whatever, but fine.
Yeah, he wasn't that
I'm
good.
not a massive fan of his mum as an actress. Like,
She was too small of a part, really.
and Amanda Seyfried was pretty good
She
actually.
was pretty good.
I
Actually,
do quite
so
like her.
performances were, was it really just the dialogue? I feel
I
like
think that-
performances were okay.
Yeah, it's hard for us to give a bad performance mark on this because they did not have much to work with.
Okay, so what do you think? I'm gonna let you take the reins and argue if I disagree.
7.
I think 7 too. I think 7's fair enough to that. I think plausibly it could be 6 and it could be 8. It's kind of very difficult. Wait, what the hell? Oh, okay, hang on.
So it was dialogue next, was it?
Next we have dialogue. We have 1 minute to agree on a rating out of 10. Go. Is there anything that stops this from being like the lowest?
This is the worst we've ever done, in my opinion. What would you say any differently?
We have A Few Good Men is... How did we give A Few Good Men to?
That was when we were just prattling about. We didn't even record it.
Maybe we need to remove that.
We need to
we have a
remove that.
3 on Kingdom of the Apes. The dialogue must have been quite bad in that too.
This was worse than Kingdom of the Apes for me.
Yeah.
But then again, is it just because I really hate that style of dialogue?
No. Fred.
At one point they must have thought it was a drive-through.
That was hilarious.
I can help you get all the time you want. Then they drive into the bank. Yep. Look for the slowest car.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
You can run, so can you.
You know what?
Now I'd say your
Here's what
money
I'm
or
going to
your
say,
life.
right? Here's what I'm going to say, right, Fred? It's not going to get 1 out of 10 because I think that a couple of those the lines that they did come out with that you're being super critical of, they weren't that bad. You know, like I know you hate that style of dialogue, but some of them were like they were fine. You know, they weren't 1 out of 10.
All right, 2.
All right, 2. It's so bad.
I think the performers did well with what they had.
Okay. Next, we have visuals, CGI, costume, makeup. Out of 10, go. 1 minute, go.
So the car crash was a car crash.
It was bad. It was exactly that, Fred.
Any other visual elements?
I really liked the
costume
design of everything, like the design of the cars and everything. Like it was quite a cool looking film.
Fair enough.
And the whole digital kind of like naughty.
It was
it
really
very,
going for a Matrix vibe, wasn't it?
Yeah. It
Like
was
even
a
the
bit.
green, it was very green in
It was-
elements as well.
You
like
could
the
see
Matrix.
the inspiration. Other than the CGI, there weren't any moments where I was like, "Wow, that's atrocious."
No, and I mean, yeah, it's just such an interest. It was so bad. It was like so noticeably bad. It just throws you off for everything else, doesn't it?
I don't know if it. I think maybe 6.
Yeah, go on, because the visual style was interesting.
But I was going to say, yeah, maybe I kind of want to give it a 7 because I really like the way that some of the things, like you cast, right? Right?
Yeah, to be fair, we got to give them some marks. How
Mustangs,
beautiful.
cast Mustangs and leather
Right,
jackets.
give it a 7.
7. Right, sweet.
That sweet told me that he was thinking that they're still punching him up his weight with a 7 there. Give it a 7. Right, sweet.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay, next we have sound. I would give you an idea of what that means, but I don't know. Sound. Did it have a soundtrack? I don't remember.
I don't remember songs.
Did it have the score was fine? There wasn't any like terrible dubbing. Was there anything that made it better than a 6?
I thought actually, the music for some of the suspenseful scenes I did notice.
And that's true. There was.
There was music when the mum died and they were running towards each other. I remember the music.
Scene. Yeah,
Did you notice how they all ran really weirdly? Especially because
she was in heels,
so
man.
No, I was more thinking about Justin Timberlake with his like upright running. So they're running together, but then again, when she did die, I think the music actually worked against it a bit there because it looked so funny. But I like a 6, 5.
I feel like I feel like I feel like 5 is bad, and I don't feel like the sound was bad in this film.
6.
Did we just do that? We did that before a minute. Go us. Right, it's
best,
time.
Everyone's favourite
Genre realization.
Sci-fi romp.
I think it's a sci-fi romp.
Which other sci-fi romps have we had? Star Wars.
Star Wars is a sci-fi romp, which I didn't mind. What sci-fi romps have we got?
A lot of sci-fis are quite rompy.
Did it kind of come under the Kingdom of the Apes sort of worlds? I feel like it did. In the Furiosa, I feel like there was a thing there, a kind of a pattern between those guys and Star Wars.
I preferred Kingdom of the Apes and Furiosa.
Yeah, okay.
Probably.
You preferred Furiosa to that?
Yeah.
Right, okay. But in terms of genre realization, so what's the question? What is genre realization again?
Which genre is it in? Sci-fi romp.
Yeah, and how does it compare against...
How well does it do? How much does it...
define its genre?
Yeah. Exemplify its genre.
It was fine. 7? It wasn't great, but it wasn't... It was a sci-fi romp, you know? Like, it wasn't... Yeah. I don't know, maybe 7's a bit generous.
I'd probably go 6.
You know what? I reckon genre realization a 6, which means that the Mate Night podcast has now rated in time 2011 out of 10 in 9 different categories. We have rated it the following: Fred's enjoyment out of 10, 5.7. Jambo's enjoyment out of 10, 8.7. Plot 6, character 7, dialogue 2, performance 7, visual 7, sound 6, genre realization 6, giving it an average score of 6.16 out of 10, which, as far as I'm aware, means should you watch it? No. I think.
To be honest, if they've listened all the way through, we just
you probably should. Spoilers, by the way.
I reckon we do.
I think you should watch it because I had a great time and Fred's just a bit, sour about how gorgeous everyone is.
Yeah, if you fancy seeing some beautiful people in a weird world, give it a crack.
And if you've seen it before, how would you score it? If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe.